External characters of Pila globosa means how externally this animal looks. What are the peculiar characters? What are the characteristic features of this organism so that we can identify this organism easily and correctly. This Pila, its body is soft and is covered by the calcareous shell. This calcareous shell is hard, secreted from the mantle. That mantle, it is placed or located below the calcareous shell. That mantle secretes this shell. This shell is formed of calcium carbonate. Now in the external characters we are going to see the two parts, mainly shell and operculum. Shell and operculum. Shell. The shell of a Pila is somewhat globular. You can visualize, you can see the diagram. This diagram, it has a shape of globular shape it is having. And that width of this shell is of about 60 millimeter, means 6 centimeter. Side to side length means width, we call it as. Color of the shell is lemon yellow color or brownish color or even blackish color also can be found in the Pila globosa. This shell can be secreted from mantle itself. The shell is made up of a single piece. This shell is made up of a single piece. Therefore, we can call it as univalved. Single valve is present. That is why univalved shell. And this shell is also called unilocular. Why unilocular? Because this shell is undivided internally. This shell is undivided internally. That is why unilocular shell we call it as. It is somewhat smaller in male and larger in female. Means sexual dimorphism is there. Shell size is also there, which comes under the sexual dimorphic character. Male has smaller shell while female has larger shell. Okay. The shell of Pila, as in gastropoda, consists of elongated hollow cone. That hollow cone here we call it as columella. This is the columella. At the internal side, means inside the shell, this columella is axis-like. This columella, it supports whole shell structure. This is the columella. This columella is closely coiled in a spiral manner. Okay, and this columella is also called the central axis. Okay, a single revolution of the shell is called whorl. Single revolution of the shell is called whorl. Total 6.5 whorls are present, formed by the calcareous shell. 6.5 whorls. From where these 6.5 whorls start? Here you can see the apex of shell. This is the top, जसा मंदिराचा कळस असतो. Apex of the shell. During metamorphosis, larva forms first shell. That shell is nothing but the apex of shell. And later on, as the animal grows, shell secretion occurs and shell can be formed. Which shells or which shell structures can be formed here? You can see after the apex of the shell. Here the penultimate holes are there. These penultimate holes are separated or partitioned by the sutures. Suture in Marathi we call it as शिवण. शिवण जशी असते धाग्यानं त्या पद्धतीनं इथे शिवण असते आणि त्या शिवणमुळे penultimate hole separate होतात. Succeeding holes, a big hole can be called as body hole. This is the body hole. Means penultimate holes and body holes also can be separated by the sutures. Yes, what it? And body holes demarcatedly show the lines here. These lines are called, dark lines are called lines of growth or concentric lines of growth. By measuring these lines of growth, the age of pila can be determined. These lines of growth, singular line is called the varix and in plural form they are called varices, V-A-R-I-C-E-S, varices we call it as. Okay? Yes. All the holes except the body hole are collectively referred as spire. This is the body hole and these are the remaining holes. These are called spires. This is called the body hole. The prominent ridges are called, prominent ridges, we call it as the lines of growth. That you got it easily. Yes. The body hole opens out by a large oblong aperture, we call it as mouth. Suppose, listen, the diagram is without operculum. The diagram is without operculum. The operculum is removed. Now the inside the operculum, mouth can be seen. Here the mouth is present. Okay? But when shell is closed, that mouth can be retracted and the door, that means operculum, fits on the foot part. It can be dragged inside and the door of the shell can be closed tightly. But here in this case, mouth is shown, not the operculum. But if the operculum is shown here, it will look like this also. It is having the shape same as this. Okay? You imagine that here operculum is offset. Clear? Columella, you know it very well. It is the twisted rod-like structure. We call it as columella, which supports body holes and spire. The function of columella is also, the columella has the muscles called columellar muscles, and to the columellar muscles, head and foot complex is attached. Means from the columellar muscles arise and they go up to the parts of the body. Which parts? Head and foot. Means head and foot is attached to the columella by the columellar muscles. Yes, this columella opens below to the exterior by a narrow opening. We call it as umbilicus or inner lip. This is the umbilicus or inner lip. Means this columella opens here, no? This part is nothing but the umbilicus or inner lip. This is the outer lip. Inner lip and outer lip. Yes, this is very important, inner lip and outer lip, to understand the operculum. Yes, if the shell is having umbilicus, that shell is called umbilicated shell or perforated shell. Listen carefully. Umbilicated shell means in the shell umbilicus is present, or perforated shell means the shell in which umbilicus is present. Yes, if that shell do not have the umbilicus, that shell is called imperforated shell or unumbilicated shell. Got it? Which? Imperforated shell or unumbilicated shell. Yes. And the shell of the pila, it has a characteristic coiling due to the torsion during metamorphosis process. If this shell is viewed from the ventral side, listen, ventral side means, I will show here, this part I will show. Suppose in this diagram the mouth is present, here the foot is, and along the foot at the inner side head is present. If this part is removed, no, head is there. You assume that, okay? You assume. This foot is located at the ventral side. Head is located at the anterior most side. And visceral mass is located at the dorsal side. Dorsal side, ventral side. Foot, ventral side. And head at the anterior most side. Dorsal, ventral, anterior. Yes. If the shell of the pila is viewed from the ventral side means from the foot, okay, with the peristome facing the observer. Which is the peristome? Here in this diagram. This is the peristome. Means this is the outer border of the operculum. This is the outer lip of the operculum. This is the inner lip of the operculum. This borderline outside, we call it as peristome, means outer border. And if the shell is handled in such a way that this peristome is facing observer, listen, suppose this is the border, okay, this is the border, outer border, this is the inner border, and ventral side of the shell means peristome is facing the observer, then mouth lies to the right side of the columella. Mouth lies to the right side of the columella. That shell is called dextral shell. That shell is spirally coiled in clockwise direction. That shell is spirally coiled in clockwise direction. That is why that shell is called dextral shell. And if the observer facing the operculum, yes, observer facing the operculum from the ventral side, the shell, suppose like this, the shell is from this side. Operculum or peristome is in this side, okay. At that time, that shell is spirally coiled, but it is in anti-clockwise direction. That shell is called sinistral shell. Sinistral shell cases are very rare. Those are due to the genetic mutation. Genetic mutation, you know it very well. What is mutation? Mutation means abrupt or sudden changes occur in the genes, or sudden changes occur in the genetic makeup. एकदम त्या प्राण्याच्या जेनेटिक मेकअपमध्ये एकदम चेंज होतो, पुढच्या पिढीमध्ये सुद्धा तो चेंज दिसायला लागतो, त्याला म्हटलं जातं म्युटेशन. अँड सिनिस्ट्रल केस इज द genetic mutation. Means generally which kind of shell can be found? Dextral or sinistral? Dextral, left-handed. Okay, left-handed, spirally coiled in clockwise direction, means left-handed. and sinistral shell is right-handed. डाव्या सोंडेचा गणपती, उजव्या सोंडेचा गणपती. माहिती आहे तुम्हाला? तुम्ही कुठला गणपती आणता घरी? डाव्या सोंडेचा की उजव्या सोंडेचा? डाव्या सोंडेचा. ओके, clockwise direction. Dextral shell here. Okay, to get very well, to understand very well the example I have given you. Okay, means most of the shells, they are dextral shells. Got it? Now the operculum of Pila. What is the operculum? How it helps? What is its function in Pila? You can see the diagram of a shell of the Pila, and that large oblong plate, calcareous plate. It is nothing but the operculum. Its outer view is there. You are watching. The mouth or aperture of the shell is closed by flat, oblong, calcareous plate. That calcareous plate is nothing but the operculum. Yes. This operculum is attached to the hinder part of the foot. Means suppose this is the animal. Suppose this is the animal. This is the foot part. Okay, this is the foot part, and this is the operculum. Okay, means this operculum is attached to the hinder part of the foot. फुटच्या पाठीमागच्या बाजूला हा attached असतो. Okay, got it? Yes. And this operculum is formed by calcareous material secreted by the cuticular secretion of the glandular cells in the foot. Means this foot secretes the operculum. This foot secretes the operculum, and this operculum can be used as a door of a house. Okay, and this operculum has the same outline, as the mouth of shell, and it fits tightly a little inside the peristome. Peristome कुठला भाग? हा, त्या पेरिस्टोमच्या आतल्या बाजूला फिट बसतो. बर्नीचं झाकण कसं बसतं? सेम तसं. इथं डायग्राममध्ये पेरिस्टोम दिसतोय का तुम्हाला मुलांना? इथं डायग्राममध्ये पेरिस्टोम इथं आहे बघा. दिस इज द आउटर बॉर्डर ऑफ द ऑपरक्युलम. दिस इज द आउटर लिप. दिस इज द इनर लिप ऑफ umbilicus, and this is the operculum. Outer border peristome, inner border. Okay, this is the umbilicus. These are the lines of growth, and this is the operculum. Got it? Yes. Okay, now you see the inner surface of this operculum. This is the operculum. You can see the outer side or outer view of the operculum in the diagram. But if the inner view has shown, what it shows actually? This inner view, I will show the diagram here. You can see the diagram. You can see the diagram. Okay. In the diagram, outer view, this is the outer view and this is the inner view. Outer view means here in the diagram, this is the outer view. Means here the central or subcentral nucleus. This nucleus is not situated in the center. Slightly it is shifted. That is why we refer it as subcentral location or position of the nucleus. Nucleus is a subcentral, and around the nucleus, these are the lines of growth, or called concentric lines of growth. By measuring these lines also, age of that pila can be determined. And this is the inner view of the operculum. This operculum fits or closely attached to the foot, hinder part of the foot. It is attached. What it contains? Opposite side of nucleus contains the boss. It is very soft part, boss of operculum, and that boss of operculum is surrounded by the shallow groove. एक खाच असते, छोटीशी खाच असते, त्याला म्हटलं जातं शालो ग्रूव म्हटलं जातं. यस, लक्षात येईल का? त्यानंतर व्हॉट इज द फंक्शन ऑफ operculum? What is the function of operculum? This operculum is used for closing the mouth of shell when Pila has retracted into the shell by sensing any danger mostly. म्हणजे त्या पायलाला जेव्हा भीती वाटेल तेव्हा तो फूट आतमध्ये घेईल, आतमध्ये फूट घेतला की तो त्याच्याबरोबर असणारा दरवाजा, फूटला अटॅचड असणारा दरवाजा सुद्धा आतमध्ये ओढून घेतला जातो. येस, गॉट इट ना? गुड.